Fantasy, baseball, statistics. Welcome in to all the subscribers. We got a big day today. We got high-end pitching targets 2.0, trying to make some breakthroughs there. Almost going to be reviewing the whole list from scratch. Honestly, we're going to win or lose some leagues today. You're going to win leagues today. That's how high I am on the information that we're doing today. With Helium, we're going to be covering Helium, things that are blowing up, talk a little bit about variants. So from the comments, one thing that inspires me out of the gates is Young Guns is talking to me about plate discipline. He's telling me that he's hype on Corey Seager because he likes that Seager was both power and contact. And Guns wanted to point out something that I didn't say, that Seager was last year's championship winning MVP. So when I'm hearing metrics back from the community, I know that I'm going to have to take it a little bit further to the next level. And I did find something, so I'm going to tell you how this happened. I'm on Fangraphs, I'm tinkering with my sheet a little bit, and Fangraphs goes down for maintenance. Oh, and at first I'm searching things like why is the website down? And I say, okay, well, I'm just going to have to go over to Baseball Reference and let's just see what's over there. I'm not using it as much. I'm going between Baseball Savant and Fangraphs and back and forth. So we're going to jump over there. Let's get into this. A little player menu on the pitcher so you can pull some guys up on your Fangraphs. Bring up a Corbin Burns, a Kenta Maeda, and a Plesac. But let me take you over on this journey. This is a little bit maybe a breakthrough here, so I want to come in with it really quickly here and how it's going to influence helium and movement in my starting pitcher. So we jump over to Baseball Reference, and this you have to find it, so stay with me here. Baseball Reference, under seasons, go to 2020 leaders pitching, hit that tab. Once pitching opens up, you'll get all the teams and some stats for pitching. But now, on the drop-down, there's a bar that says 2020 MLB season, minor leagues, MLB standings. Keep looking, and there's tabs for fielding, batting. The third one is pitching. Now here, for the first time, this is breakthrough stuff. This is what I was like, I've got to bring, besides the helium and the hydrogen and the neon that we're going to be lifting up in our draft sheets later, we've got to do this pitching breakthrough that I have that's going to lead to some alterations. And I'm going to tell you right now, so I'm not hiding the ball from you, is I'm very high on Corbin Burns all of a sudden, extremely high. Kenta Maeda is the real deal. And say yes to Plesac. Say yes, please, to Plesac. And those are some of the things we're going to move around. But let's keep going. So finding the statistics. Under pitching, here it is. Pitching pitches. It's called pitching pitches. I don't even know. Nobody has these stats. But you go to pitching pitches, you got to search. You really got to want numbers on Baseball Reference. So scroll down. There are the players. Now you'll see things. The stats, as you highlight over them, will give you the letters. You can check these out. Innings pitch, plate appearances, pitches. So I'm searching these, and I know who I think the best pitcher should be. And the way that we're going to get the numbers to marry is that we're going to sort a list, and we're going to see high-end guys up there. For whatever reason, that's going to give us a reference that, oh, this could be a good statistic. And then I will check it, annualize it. This is 2020, 19, 18, 17. But keep going here. So I'm just tinkering around here. And there's strikes. That's good. Strike percentage. Yeah, I like that. Strikes looking. Interesting. Called strikes. That's really exciting. So check that out. But here, I think there's some magic to be found on the S over STR. Swinging strike percentage. Sort that. We're going to talk about that. Swinging strike percentage. So, because we don't have that. We have swinging strike on Fangraphs, which is per pitch. We have whiff, which is per swing. But here is swinging strike per total strike. So now what this is saying is how many strikes are swing and miss strikes that were otherwise strikes. It's just an interesting number. And we get DeGrom, Bieber, Giolito, Kenta Maeda at 27% swinging strike, Castillo, Burns, Scherzer, Carrasco. So who I cooled on a little bit here on this list is Darvish. I like the Plesac showed at 23. The magic to sum it up for you is that at about 22% on swinging strike, these guys are either Studley or they pop, catching even Nola, Bauer, Woodruff, and Lazaro on the outside looking in. Zach Gallen down there at 20. But really, really floating because DeGrom is 1 at 33%. Shane Bieber is 2 at 29%. We can feel good about that. Lucas Giolito at 28.5 and Luis Castillo at 25.7. I believe that from a Helium perspective, if you're going to get in and grind out and adjust some starting pitchers, I am advancing Lucas Giolito and Luis Castillo above Scherzer and Darvish. So my top 5 are now DeGrom, Bieber, Garrett Cole, Giolito, and then Castillo. I know, it's aggressive, but we're going to be getting aggressive this year on adjusting some players. But just if you go back, you can pull up, do the same thing, get over to pitching pitches on the leaders, scroll down past the teams to the players, and check out another stat in 2019 swinging strike. This is what I'm talking about. Garrett Cole is 1, Castillo's 2, Scherzer, Verlander, DeGrom. So Verlander's out because he's injured. DeGrom is best the next season. Scherzer's up there again. There's Giolito again. There's Maeda again. So that gave me feelings that obviously I had to up where I'm at with Corbin. I can talk about Robbie Ray, who's filthy but has a lot of walks holding him back. But there's Jack Flaherty knocking on the door. With Darvish, Bieber the season before knocking on the door, Charlie Morton being good, and there's Bauer down at 21. So you can see a guy can go from 21 and pop up. So getting into a little piece here, so lifting up those two starters, Corbin Burns, we're going to jump over to your baseball savant, and I hear this little narrative about Trevor Bauer was talking about guys using substances is helping them get more spin and more cut on the ball. And I'm bumping into, I'm teasing these pitchers apart, and I want to take you over to baseball savant, Corbin Burns. What we see from Trevor Bauer potentially admitting to using a substance, putting crazy spin rates on his fastballs, cutters, and curveballs, we get over to a Corbin Burns who has spin rates. Typically, I'm just looking at whiff rates, but I started saying, spin, how many revolutions the ball is making on the four-seamer, on the sliders. And what we see here is Corbin Burns with a 2,900 spin rate on the cutter, a 2,900 curveball at 2,900, 2,670. These are ridiculous spin rates on Corbin Burns' stuff. And to take you back over, we're going to bounce in between. Get back to your Fangraphs level Corbin Burns. And what we see here, a future value of a 60. So Corbin Burns, this isn't kidding around stuff. Corbin Burns has a future value of a 60. Am I in the right player here? No, here he is. Because I was going to say he's a 55, but so is Bueller. So to some degree, at some point in the minors, people thought that Bueller and Corbin Burns had the same level upside. So I'm starting to believe in that a little bit. Crack open into these minor leagues. The K's haven't always been there. This is where I want to take us on the starting pitching, is that we're trying to get used to variance, and to really see the variance, it's caught in the game logs. In these game logs, you can get some variance, and with the variance, I want to get some sort of conviction for the pitcher, that I'm okay with the floor, and I like the upside, that I'm going to be in the whole season. Because one thing is, once I pick these pitchers, I'm set it and forget it. And you're going to see, let's go into Corbin Burns' example. So you're going to scroll down to Corbin Burns, below where we get to see his prospects report on season stats, hit game logs, 2 tabs over. Now on game logs, we're going to take a peek in real quick. The first thing I'm doing is I'm scanning, I'm checking those innings pitched. I'm checking what those walks look like. I'm checking what those Ks look like. And we can see that Corbin Burns, I made fun of him for the short innings. But yeah, that stretch of 5 games was pretty impressive where he touched 10, 9 Ks 4 times in a row. We really like that. But so to check in, and as you're scanning across, drop down to the lower menu, and as you're cruising across, just click on pitch type real quick. We want to get to plate discipline, but just check into pitch type. Under pitch type, you can see what he's throwing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pitch mix from Corbin Burns. So this guy likes to throw baseballs. Real quick, the fastball over the season sat 96. So that is a lot of hard stuff. He's working in an 86 bandwidth, a cutter at a 93, a curveball down to 81, a change at 89. So it's a power change. It's a ridiculous curve. There's a lot of different pitches he's throwing, regardless of how it's going to shake out. And we come into the plate discipline. And what we want to see here on the plate discipline is the variance. What you'll see from variance, I don't care as much about O swing on this, but I really care a lot about how the Z contact and the swinging strike rate went. So some observations from the zone contact. Pitchers go cold and hot. If we think 80 is our line of sub 80 is good for a pitcher, over 80 is not, look at Corbin Burns, how his season goes. 71, 76. I mean, he dominates. And then 83, 87, 88. Those are games he's getting hit. But then he dropped to 68. 82, 100. Those weren't good. 72, 76, 76. So there was variance in how he did just zone contact. And if he's missing zone contact, he's steamrolling guys and moving through the order. Swinging strike rates, he finished with a 14.5. That is very good. That is elite. 12, I'd be okay. 13, okay. But 14, 15, you're starting to enter top 10, top 20 potential. He finished with 14.5 swinging strike. But look at the hot days. 17, 17, 17, 15 and a half, 14, 19. So there's some very filthy swinging strikes. On the low end, he only touched 10 twice. 10, 10. Now that would be low. Compared to other pitchers, when you get into this level seeing variance, you'll see pitchers swinging strike rate drop to 7, 8, not striking guys out in those days. So there's a little peek into Corbin Burns, who I've just gone ridiculously high on Corbin Burns. This is unbelievable. So Kenta Maeda has been unleashed. Whatever was happening in the Dodgers, them tinkering with innings, them not wanting him to hit salary bonuses, that was holding back a Kenta Maeda. But Kenta Maeda, going over to his baseball savant, does something very curious, And I'm on a special tool here. Let's take our time. We scroll down. Kenta Maeda is suppressing exit velocity and suppressing hard hit in the red levels. That means elite at suppressing those. And he's been doing it. He suppressed exit velo and hard hit this season before. The launch angle even came down from 15 to 10, so he's really suppressing hit. Well, I've been using these pictures to give myself a feel for the pitchers, the red zones, the heat, and what they do, because I like to see how these guys work. What is really interesting historically on Maeda's, we can go to view more seasons, and he's got 5 seasons worth of data. In 2019, he has a fastball, a 4-seamer, that's getting hit at a 280 average. The whiff is only 21%. It's not that good. He gave up 9 home runs on it. It's a problem. But Maeda's heady, and he goes over to Minnesota, and he gets to do this. He gets to lead slider. So he's throwing slider first. He becomes slider change. But the slider is working at a 33% whiff, and the change is getting a 45% whiff. So on fastball alone, a 30 whiff on a fastball is very high. Mid 20s will work. He's saving the fastball, working slider change. But let's look at the locations. The slider, he's murdering the bottom corner of the plate where he can be low and in tight. I mean, he's painting the corner. He's either painting in for a called strike or he's just outside on something to righties that's really going to jam them up. This is what's really interesting. Look at that changeup. Look at what he is pounding with his changeup. Maeda is pounding 3 locations off the plate That's shadow, my friends. He is in the shadow. He is off the heart. His changeup is never in the heart, and it looks like he's painting 3 away, corner, and middle. So, I mean, between slider change, really working, and now a four seamer. So this is where he's going to use some giddy up. If you're chasing off speed, off speed, off speed, off speed, off speed, off speed, and you're holding back, he's working a show me four seamer. That's only 91. It's only 91, 92. That's not good, but look at this. The batting average is .086. So he's playing mind games with them to make a four seamer that doesn't have the greatest whiff, but it can't even be hit. It's disappearing on guys because he's hitting 3 more locations with it. Inside, where he's pounding with the slider. Outside, which is setting up change. And then it looks like that high one, it might just be like catching guys up. I mean, he's in the shadow again. He's in the shadow. That could be getting called for a strike when umps are really giving him stuff because they see that Maeda will move and he'll adjust to the umpire's zone because there's so much control. The sinker's just a two-seamer that he's missing barrels with. And who even wants to talk about a curveball and a cutter that he's barely throwing at 3%, 2%, but it shows what he has in his arsenal. He doesn't really even need to work those. But I just wanted to mention that on a Kenta Maeda, who looks like the real thing. I mean, Kenta Maeda, Blake Snell, Corbin Burns. So I'm adjusting to what I'm seeing in the numbers and being one step ahead and eliminating my biases, grabbing those 2 players. So I was down on Walker Bueller. You gotta check out Bueller's game logs. We talked about how those are low. But let's go to a Zack Bueller on Fangraphs. Zack Bueller, 6'3", 26 years old. We're no longer getting... Go to his... First of all, on the dashboard, the Ks per 9 is 9.27. I like that. The walks were .098 for a 2.28 ERA. No walks, nobody on base. So occasionally, if you're not walking, guys, your whip is going to be low. Half of whip is walks. The other half is hits. If you're not walking, you're not issuing free passes, you're allowing your fielders to play. If you're walking and you're striking out over 9K per 9, you're a very good pitcher. But when I look at Plesac, there's something very special on these game logs that's about to happen. Click over to the game logs. Look at these innings for the big boy. 8, 7, 6, 6, 7, 7, 7, 6.2. Because he was walking either 0 or 1 person with some strikeouts. He had 2 bad games where he gave up some dingers. He went 6.2 in his last game before probably getting pulled on a dinger. Come across, check the pitch type. Okay. So the fastball sits 92.8. The low end of a workable fastball, we can be okay there. We wish it was 94. He's working slider, curveball, change. Curveball and change. What are the percentages? Well, the slider from 16 to 30%. The curveball, he started off throwing it. He started to shelve it. It's a field pitch. He's working a lot of change. So he's 3 to 4 pitch mix, which we like to see. Checking on the plate discipline. 14.3 swinging strike. So up there, special elite. He had an off day at 7.8, an off day at 9, but did a 20, a 15, a 16, and 18. Yes, pleased, Plesac, who on our average draft or on our pricing is coming in at $17 behind Maeda at 19, Corbin Burns at 19. I think you got to live in there. I think you got to live in there. Go back because where this starts off, at these swinging strike per total strike numbers, Maeda's 4th. He's coming off last season. He was unbelievable. Corbin Burns is 25. Scherzer, who I stay high on, Carlos Carrasco, you see why I'm there. And some things emerge from this as you see this yourself. Tyler Mahle, Tyler Glasnow. How do we feel about Lamet? And even going back to Sleeper on the Bus, a couple of their absolute favorite players of all time is like Kevin Gausman. Kevin Gausman at 30, coming out of Camden Yards, going over to what I believe is the San Francisco Park. What is that? AT&T? Cavernous, and he gets Buster Posey to start framing and calling the game and using a split finger and his fastball. You get suddenly at 30 years old a breakout from a Kevin Gausman. It's just interesting. That's one for you to get in there and check out. So using the game logs, just to wrap up, there's a couple things there. Check out walk rates. Check out 3-0 counts. It just kind of shows the guys that get themselves into 3-0 counts occasionally are the ones that are losing control at some point. You don't want to just throw 3 balls. You don't want to keep getting taken off the plate, and you're going to have to serve up that fastball. On Baseball Savant, a good sort is xWOBA, so that's the expected statistics. Switching your minimum plate appearances like 150, 200 will get you just the starters. There's a little bit of a narrative leaking out about MLB wanting to deaden the ball a little bit. I don't want to overreact to this, but I don't want to be completely blindsided. I think they have to deaden them. I'm not hearing about how we got extra hard hit and extra exit velo. I think the ball was a little spongy. If I'm hearing a narrative that MLB is going to go back, I think that they might just be taking off what they put in that was too juiced last season to more regular. But watch out for some homer suppression that's going to make me want to go more 40 home runs. I'm going to have to be aware of my doubters in case somebody was sneaking over some cheapies. So there it is. Are we going to move some more pitchers? Yeah, let me just do a sheet tune-up on the pitchers and tell you some more things that happened based on those specific metrics. And this is where I'm just getting a little piffy with you, giving you a little helium so that your mind is right on pitching. And overall, where guys are now starting to move into team-by-team narratives, I'm working with where the vacuums are. I'm suddenly fading older players, and we're lifting up. We're being more right on these breakouts and not just swimming with the fish. We're turning into the shark and breaking away in other directions. I stay high on Corbin Burns, Maeda, and Block Snell in there. Kevin Gausman. Carlos Carrasco has got to be up. He's going for too cheap there. You got to really think of him as maybe cracking the top 10, even though he's a little older. Tyler Mahle is working behind a very good fastball. And what I'm seeing from the numbers, if you're going to be surprised by somebody, he's better than I thought, it's Tyler Mahle, who's only 25, 26, getting behind a pretty good whiff rate. Let me see if I got him up here. I'm on his, oh no, that's glass now. Check out a Tyler Mahle and just getting some lift. I stayed up on Jack Flaherty because of his 14.5 whiff rate and what he did last season. You'll also see him. Does he give me a pretty high swinging strike? A couple other metrics I think we're still running there. Bauer with the spin rates. Who else did I move around here? Patrick Corbin and Robbie Ray. Gonna get Ks. Get on the roller coaster that is the Robbie Ray trade. It's gonna be some strikeouts. It's gonna be walky. Again, Walker Buehler, I think I see enough in the profile that Walker Buehler could blow up, but he also could get tinkered with by the Dodgers, and I'm concerned with that also for Bauer on how they manage his pitching style. I didn't mention him a while back, but I think here's a little sleeper that I'm high on that's not mentioned that much. Out of the Cleveland develops good pitchers. Tristan McKenzie going very late, 7, 8, 9. Get some Tristan McKenzie, going to be K per 9. I love Sixto Sanchez again, but Corey Kluber, he just feels like the kind of vet because he's done this before where he's disappeared to an injury, but he comes back right in tip-top form and he just has very smooth mechanics. They're not maximum effort mechanics. It's a lot of deception. I think that Corey Kluber for very cheap could get back into this. Framber Valdez. Okay. I think that's good on pitching. Let's get into a little nuance of salary cap draft strategy before we go over to the helium and the true piff at the batter and for batters and hitters. Nuance of salary cap strategy. I'm wondering if there is a vacuum here. If I start to fade old players, and this is for Snake, because I'm people are going to have to win some snakes this season, so we can talk about it a little bit. If you start drafting all the upside. This is my upside very early, double time. You can run through upside in early rounds, 4, 5, 6, or alternate 2, 4, 6, 8 rounds, and then come back on the other rounds and grab who fell. Grab the tier guys. Because I don't want to be early on fallers that I know are good who are getting lost in the vacuum. But I also don't want to miss upside. So why not alternate with those? Or aggressively grab Helium and then see who falls in, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that way I'm collecting. I'm trying to be deep, but I'm trying to really spike with upside. And I see that working a lot. Knowing your average price per pick. So here, just getting a little bit more into the mechanics on the salary cap draft. I know my average price per pick. This is something when the draft starts, 18 players on your draft. Each guy is going to cost at least $1. So that's $18 that have to be spent, that have to be filled on players. So in a way, 18 is gone. When I'm really monitoring how much I have left per pick is when I'm coming down $80, $60. If I have 10 players left, and I have $60 and I have to fill 10 slots, that's $6 per player. So the way I kind of try to cut this so I can flip it easily at $6 per player, I could go up to 12, but I'm forcing myself into a $1 player at that point. So you start to see what your double value is, that you're giving up a bench average draft value to go up and get a $12 player. Now you have to wonder, let's say you want to go get an $18 player. You're giving up 2 bench players as $1 players. Using the 6 per, you can go up to 18. But you should know this because I don't think you want to get to a point where you're buying a 5 multiple player and you wax 5 bench players all to $1 players. So if suddenly your average draft in this scenario of a give and take of slush funding your bench, you have to let players go that are going for 25 for a little bit. You want to start nomming $25 players because your analysis is that's an overpay. We're not at that juncture of the draft yet, boys. But then you hold your money, and once players do drop to 12, 10, 7, 6, 7, 8, you're comfortable going in and saying 7, 10, getting them and getting 5 or 6 more players, 4 more players at the end. So that's my little... Every battle is different. Every battle is different. This is more mechanical, but you could think back to your greatest battles because that's what it's becoming in multi-year salary cap drafts where people know each other. Here it is mechanically. I can up 1 with 5 seconds left. Just a basic, monotonous up $1 at 5 seconds left because I don't want the machine to freeze. I don't want to show that I really want them or I don't. If people are one-upping and the whole room is going 1, 1, 1, 1, you'll see a number that's cascading up very fast. You can up in that because there's a momentum that the ones are going up that it will slow down and eventually it will become a deliberation for certain guys that are still in. But that time period is interesting to really push. And if you're in these scenarios, to just stop. 1, 1, 1, 1. So let's say we're snap calling someone. 27, 28. 29, 30. The other person's waiting and you're snap calling. So you're snap calling, you're showing aggression. Don't snap call forever. Snap call and then snap call last. And then snap call last. Because I think you're signaling that you are contemplating whether you're going to hang this player up. And so then I want to make the other person wonder, are they too high? I'm not getting off. I'm just slowing down as if I'm going to leave them hung up. Especially if you can hang some people up. Let's say you're getting snap called, snap call, snap call, snap call. Let's take them over $3. Snap call, snap call. I don't want this guy to snap call, and stop. And then you leave somebody hung up on a player you didn't really want. That's a hang up. That's a little bit of, playing a little chicken with somebody. But it's out there to try to mix things up because you don't want your hand to be told that, okay, you don't bid on guys. But when you do bid on a guy, you're a snap caller. Because now you can just get run up and people go, well, this guy's going to bet anything. And they want to steal things from you and they have a target on you as opposed to being a little nervous. Like, oh, he's in every player. Like this person just bids or you're kind of hiding your hand a little bit. When you win a player, it's hard to explain. They're they're worth two things. I can't explain. A win is worth two things. It's worth the player, and it's worth some sort of fee that it's hard for me to describe of getting your money in. Because I think it comes from this. The best players are being nominated early, and we're going down the track. The players that are not as good are late in the draft. So if you are winning a player, you are buying also a pass, an entry pass, a cover charge. You're getting free cover charge on getting a player. When you get in early and take a guy, there's a cover. Because if you don't want to pay cover, which is winning players, you're going to wait until later. You're going to be a bigger stack on later in the game players. So winning players and getting free cover charges early in the draft is definitely worth something. Another thing on every battle. So I will go 1-for-1, and then I will chump it. I will, $5 up. Round numbers, 50, 51, 55, 60. Because maybe, as opposed to 1-1ing and giving off this kind of tug of war, I can just, almost like a curveball that comes up high, and freeze him with a bid, and then he just kind of lets it go because they don't one-up it. And not being scared to chunk. 60. No? 65. You going to do that? Because now, what you can do, 70? We're going to do that. So I'd rather do that than have somebody know that my hand is being aggressive because I'm snap calling things. All right. Hitters. We're switching over to hitters. This is where, like I said, and I'm gonna put it in here. You're gonna be winning some leagues with the Helium right now. And what I mean by Helium is, if we start to fade older players, we start to see who has upside, who's going to be in lineups. Helium keeps moving up because as you kind of sort through and go, well, let me talk about my page a little bit. Juan Soto, Acuna, Tatis Jr., Cody Bellinger, who I'm hearing is a little bit healthy. I'm healing him up over Mike Trout to the number 4 spot. And I go on, I've been hitting the podcast hard, but I go back to a Razzball Fantasy Baseball podcast. I had started their first opening top 20 players. We did a top 20 while ago. Well, let me see what these guys are saying. And what happens here is I can vibe with Gray. I forget the host name, but they're judging upside. They're judging year-to-year narrative that we are just like on the same page. So a little bit of confirmation bias that they are saying back to me the same things that I've been saying. So, oh, yes. But they introduce a couple of thoughts to me that kind of confirmed what I was seeing, but were more aggressive than what I did. Those two players in particular are Luis Robert and Alberto Mondesi, where after getting through a top 16, 17, they picked 2 starters that Gray and I agree, we are never drafting up there. No pocket aces, bats, early bats. You stay away from pitching because we're finding pitching in the Corbin Burns, Kenta Maeda realm anyways. And we're going to be fine there. So they push up Alberto Mondesi and Luis Robert. At first, I think I'm going to hide the ball on you and tease the good stuff. And then I just say to myself, no, don't hide the ball. Give them the players right now. And this is going to be, after they bump them up, I'm going to give you where my bump goes to. Luis Robert, Soto, Tatis Jr., Acuna, Luis Robert, my number 4 overall player. What, JL? Number 4 overall, nobody's taking Robert that high. Let me give you a reason. Let me give you a kernel of where I'm seeing this on a Luis Robert. Luis Robert's Fangraphs page. This is a 60 future value player. 60 future value. The hit tool is a 35/45. What that means, and when you're reading the prediction, it means his hit tool right now is a 35. But he's going to eventually be a 45 hit tool. So he's not hitting with the eye that they'd expect him to. And then there's 2 things, game power and raw power. Game power right now, 50, going to be 60 when he matures. Raw power, 65, 65, with 70 being like an elite grade. So what we see here is we see a matured power hitter with 70 speed. What? So absolute burners. So we know that he is very piffy. And what I'll watch out for on these players is fielding and throwing. If the future value is high, but it's coming in the form of fielding and throwing, that player might not be beloved because of his hitting, but more because of the defense. Here it's a raw power score with a speed score, and I'm seeing some video of a Robert. Let's scroll down a little bit to his minor league numbers, and I think we really have to. This is what tearing through the minor leagues looks like. It's when you in 2017 you played rookie ball. In 2018 you jumped through Double A. His WRC pluses of 193, 174, 121. Up at Double A, the single A in 2018, when how old is he? 23 years old. When he's 20, I guess he has a little trouble in single A. Comes back the next season in single A and has a 306 WRC plus. A 200 is ridiculous. A 306, they're like, get him out of Double A, send him up to Double A. This is where the skills are tested. This is in 2019. He smashed Double A. He had 8 home runs, took 20 bases for a 384 BABIP, a 314 average, and a 155 WRC plus. Double A didn't do anything to him. He went up to Triple A in the same season and said, "Oh, you know what? I'll start hitting bombs." He goes 16 home runs and 7 bases in just 223 plate appearances. In the league, that's 46 home run. That's 46 home run pace on 200 plate appearances, on 600 plate appearances. Walk rate wasn't bad, 24%. The WRC plus was 136. He had a 324 BABIP for a 297 average. So he couldn't be tested. He forces himself into the bigs. He goes 11, 30, 30, and 9 on 227 plate appearances. I mean, he's 30, 100, he's 30, 90, 90, 30. The BABIP was the lowest in his career. It's probably going to come back for 101 WRC plus. But this all right. So that's just background on Robert, on me making this that he could be a number 5 player, top 5 overall player. What I really see here is the singular moment of truth. Go to the StatCast hard hit, 39% hard hit. We like it. The hard from the batted ball, only 29%. But he's got a fly ball rate of 42%. On the fly ball rate, a guy is going to hit more home runs if his fly ball rate is 40% than if it's 30%. 30% guys hitting line drives, 40% guys hitting fly balls. He's not just pull happy. He's 35% to pull. He's 36% to 7. He's even 30% oppo. So it's an all fields approach. But here's the magical number. Back up to the StatCast data. Max exit velocity of 116 is huge. The launch angle is 16.7. 16.7. That singular number alone tells you that this power could blossom right in front of our eyes to 35, 40, 45 power. That there might be 40-40 potential in Luis Robert. The plate discipline, okay, you want to temper your expectations, okay, we will. A 43% O swing, that's a lot. A Z contact of only 74, that's bad, but so is Alberto's on hard hit. But this is my thing, he got his first taste of the big leagues. If we look at how he responded between Double A and Triple A, did he get any better? So that's there. We're hearing a couple things, and this is where Gray just confirms, like Arenado. We think Arenado, like the world is too low on Arenado. I'm pushing up a Gleyber Torres, and so this is just a little bit of self-care. Who else? Sheet care right here. So the way my sheet is starting to form out, I've got a top 20 that haven't really moved. I just moved a couple people. I grabbed Bellinger over Trout. Robert pops up. But what happens for me earlier, I'm feeling better about Arenado. I'm still high in Gleyber Torres. And so what it confirms for me on this young upside, I've got to push him up a little bit. Just popping into Vlad Guerrero Jr., I really think that we have to continue to be there because he's a 70 future value player. We can say what we want about Robert and having more speed, but I think we have to be there with Vlad. Alberto, I just want to review Alberto a little bit. mostly because of the projections here. Systems have him at 20 home runs to 55 maybe bases. Tons of bases. The hard hit got up to 39% on the StatCast. The launch angle of 13. Even the batted ball, pretty pull happy. The fly ball went up. So the home run potential is there, but again, you're going to temper by the plate discipline. 37% O swing, 73% zone contact, but that could pop back up to the 80s. Being high in Albedo, so suddenly what I realize is if I'm fading older players and I'm seeing who's elevating, these are the names. Yordan Alvarez, Alberto Mondesi, Vlad Guerrero Jr. If I'm going to fade a little bit on Rendon and Abreu for being old or Ozuna, I'm going to be replacing them with those young studs. I think there's a real situation of having Robert and Eloy this season, not thinking that you have to pick between one or the other, but just feeling both for how much upside that I'm seeing. So I elevated a couple other players. Here's another piece of helium, that Great Albright, amazingly high on Bo Bichette. I think he had Bo Bichette in like a top 15. So I got to dig into Bichette. I got a little bit different story here, and here's how I leapfrog. I said, no, I'm higher on Robert than Bichette. So we're going to go in here. We're going to show you about the microscope a little bit. Bo Bichette's player page on Baseball Savant. I think you got to talk about the contact a little bit and how he's working there. The plate discipline on Baseball Savant. What's really exciting Gray, why Gray is freaking out, is he sees this zone contact of 91%. The chase is high, okay, but the zone contact is so good, we kind of like letting him swing away. We see that the barrel is 12.5, and we see that the solid is 9.4. On a youngster, again, another... Back to Fangraphs, let's look at the minor leagues. We got a Bo Bichette, who's a 60 future value player. He's got a 60 hit tool, a 45 current up to a 60 matured. That's a lot of contact. On game power, raw power, 55-60, that will eventually play. The speed isn't as ample, and there's a lot of throw there, so he's got a little bit more fielder where we would want power. What I'm seeing in the minor leagues, this is another player that tore through the minors. The ascent, 17, 18, 19, he's in the bigs. He's in the bigs. He hits AA in 18, he's in the bigs in 19. WRC plus is 238, 200, 145, 310, 103, 142, 122. So WRC plus strong in a young Bo Bichette, only 22 years old, but he's 6 foot 185. Luis Robert is 6'3", with power, probably 6'3", 200. But Bo Bichette, a sparkling ascent. This is a player with a BABIP of 360. His career average is 300. If I were to temper a little bit of Bo Bichette hype, and I'm not going to do that, but it is something I want to look at. I gotta bring him up here. Just bear with me while I grab a little bit of Bichette, because I gotta take us into one tiny thing here. Bo Bichette's player page. We're going to use one of the tools we talked about in the beginning, the pitch highlighter. The pitch highlighter for Bo Bichette. What makes me nervous, I scroll over his barrels, and the exit velocity on his barrels is 106, with the batting average of 58.3. Now, Luis Roberts' barrel exit velocity is 108, up in the very high range of barrels, so hitting it harder. And the batting average on solid contact for Bo Bichette concerns me. Only a 22% batting average on the solid. Kind of surprising, because you expect it to be around the 50s where a Roberts is. So just kind of breaking down that player, breaking down who I'm elevating up, and what I see happening, again, some helium players to get up and get early on. Kyle Tucker. Brandon Lowe has to be looked at for power in the middle infield. Bo Bichette. Javi Baez. Can't be slept on, going way too late at this point. Yoan Moncada. If Robert is going to do it, and Eloy Jimenez is going to do it, and Yoan Moncada is just on the team, on the field, Yoan Moncada is going to be doing it as well. I look late, and I realize that Carlos Correa is still like only 26 or 27. And he's tall, and there's a good amount of contact. I think he's being thrown into the waste bin, and he shouldn't be ignored. Continue to play the Helium game with yourself. Randy Arozarena, Trent Grisham, guys that are just getting pushed up higher and higher. I'm still high on Key Brian Hayes, as much as we're not hearing that name as much. Outfielders, Dylan Carlson, got to push him up. I'm a little bit high on like a Lourdes Gurriel. So that's where I'm going with that on your Helium players. 40 homer club, like I was saying, picking sleepers. So this is my thing on picking sleepers. I think you can cause a little bit of panic in a draft room and a snake. If you start popping guys that people are like, oh, well, I'm really high on Robert. Like, I don't know if I should take him in 6 or in 5. And you take Robert in 2, now this person's plan of what they thought in ADP, a kind of formality, a kind of gentleman's game. Gentleman's ADP. Oh, do not jump the ADP too far because you are making a mistake, says the experts, fine gentlemen. But no, you play dirty ball. You get in and play a little bully ball, and you start taking sleepers. And now guys are actually confused. They go, well, oh my God, that one player I heard of on a team-by-team preview last week, they must be a sleeper. And they pop a random sleeper while letting middle-round solid players fall, like Teoscar Hernandez, Soler, Springer. So this sheet really starts to come down. You got their top 20 players. You got to start popping Helium, popping that Neon, Jordan, Berto, Vlad Guerrero, Brandon Lowe, Bo Bichette, Tucker, right in the 30s, and then you can come back and see what's left of Stanton, Judge, and Soler. There's a lot of home run power there. I think you have to spend up. I think we can get cheap outfielders. If I'm going to get Rhys Hoskins for cheap, we saw a couple other mistakes there earlier. I really want to make sure that my middle infield is tightened up, and that's where we're talking about getting a Glaber, getting into some Bosa, Brendan Lowe, some Baez, Austin Meadows, Trent Grisham. Is there anybody else I really want to push up here? So I'm cooling a little bit on a Brandon Woodruff. Dinelson Lamet, yeah, he had some PRP, plasma replacement therapy, and I never liked that, getting stuck on some elbows. These are the guys I'm pushing up right now. So before I go into another chapter of some Razzball, I'm going to get in here, work into that next tier. And they even said it in the first show. They were like, anyone's going to pick the top 20 or top 30. It's being right 30 to 60, 30 to 100, and having a strategy to execute. Let's use the reverse talk as we close out on a fantasy salary cap draft. Is that I want to extend my draft. I want to be drafting aggressively, getting my money in good on not just 5 players, but 10 players, 13 players, being a little deeper, chiming in on who I want. I'm getting close to maybe making a full ladder here. I'll tell you just what I'm dreaming up. It's like coming in with a Ronald Acuna, Robert, and Bellinger. The way I'm thinking my money, I'm thinking of a $60 piece, a signature piece, 3 $30 players, using my 60 down, using 100 down with like a $10 slush, being down to $100 and saying stop on $30 players and getting some $20 players. So I probably need 2 aces. I can spend maybe another 20 or 20, getting me to like $30 or $40, and then really throwing the brakes on at 40. Think about where your average price per pick is. You've bought 6 players. You've got 12 left. You've got $48 left. $4 per player. You can pop to an 8 or to a 12 and use up a bench player. But what I'd like to do is a couple 8s, a couple 4s, add some depths on some things that really felt to me, tighten up my pitching. It might be a 6-0, and extending the length of your draft, buying in on this Helium. But guys, I'm planting my flag here. I think Luis Robert could have a sort of astronomical breakout this season. And I'm ready to double down beyond Gray, that he's got him going at 19. And I'm going to put him up in front of Cody Bellinger. Tell me, guys, what you think about that in the comments. Big shout out to Young Guns. Hit me up in the comments. If you guys are going to start getting into the metrics and seeing it back, I'm going to take it to another level. Oh, you guys are ready with that piece? Well, let's go a little further. Big shout out to all the subscribers. Hit me up. Holla.